So unlike many other technical companies, Facebook's recruiters are quite transparent when it comes to Facebook's interviewing process, which basically consists of submission of your CV, then followed by a discussion, and then an on-site interview. But before getting into that, let me just show you how Facebook sees seniority into a very interesting table that I found online. Now, seniority aside, Facebook also has a particular interesting hiring procedure in the sense that they have two types of tracks, hiring tracks. First one is that of individual contributors, that is focused on your technical abilities more than anything else. And the second one is for more management-oriented roles. So for the second one, the people skills being the main highlight of the overall interview. Now, also to be noted here is that if you happen to go for a management track, but you do particularly well for a technical one, you might be offered a role, but it would likely be within another team. And just as a final note here, Facebook usually hires in a general way, and then there's something that they call a boot camp, during which you will essentially find out what's the best team for you to fit in. Now, for the specificities of a Facebook hiring process, probably the best way would be to quote a recruiter's post on Quora. The interview process isn't exactly the same for every role or team, but in general it follows somewhat of a pattern. There are also differences for technical and non-technical roles, but in this example I focus exclusively on technical. First, you'll talk to a recruiter like me. Our goal is to primarily inform and educate people about Facebook and guide them through the interviewing process. We'll also get a sense of your background and if it makes a good fit for the teams we recruit for. In some cases, a recruiter might also introduce you to another recruiter who hires for a team that is a better fit. Second, in many cases you'll do 1 to technical phone screens as the next step. Depending on your area of expertise, team and level of experience, this could be everything from coding to Linux troubleshooting. If you're in management, you might do a combination of management tech interviews before as your phone screens. Third, you'll come on site. During your on-site, I'd expect somewhere between 4 and 6 interviews on average. Most of these will be technical and specific to the org or team you're interviewing for. Nearly all on-site interviews will include some variation of code and system designs, plus a soft skills or team fit interview. Ahmad explains this pretty well below. Fourth, then we'll review and make a decision, offer or no offer. Now, when it comes to some details and advice on what to expect at each stage, here is another great post on the same thread. For software engineers, here's the process. 1 to phone interviews, 2-3 whiteboard coding interview, 1-2 design, and 1 cultural fit interview. Based upon your past work experiences, you can have more design interview and less coding interviews. Now about the details about each of these interviews. First is a coding interview, solving a coding question on whiteboard. This has become a prerequisite for getting an offer. If you cannot code or solve the problem, or have some serious bugs in your code, it's quite difficult to get an offer. Good resources to prepare of this kind of interview, it's CodeRust and LeetCode. You should expect at least 2 coding interviews in a loop. Second, the system design interview. This tests your design skills and your ability to work with complex and scalable services. Your performance on these interviews determines what position and salary you will be offered. If you have commendable design skills, you will get a higher offer. A good resource to prepare for this interview is Grokking the system design interview. And third, the cultural fit interview. During this interview, companies see if a candidate would be a good fit for their culture. Candidates should not show any red flag. A few sample questions are: how good programmer, developer, student were you in the past? Your resume, work history, side, open source projects, educational project, all play a major role here. What kind of coworker you would be? The interviewer will try to evaluate if they would like to work with you in a team. Your motivation, empathy, and perseverance will be assessed. Do you have any red flag in your personality? How did you handle conflict in the past? How do you handle a difficult coworker, etc.? Do you strive for success and growth? Remember that you are applying at one of the top companies in the world. They would like to hire above average people.